do what I love for a living, which is playing music. And if I just make a little bit of money, I'd rather do what I love with a passion and make a little money than go back to contracting and try to make a lot of money and be part of a society that doesn't even,
Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm doing my mid-year list of the top 20 K-pop albums of 2021. And I feel like this year compared to 2020, while the top 5, top 6, maybe even top 7 I think is very strong, it was pretty hard for me to really fill this list with albums that I really loved. While I like all of these projects, and actually I really like all of these projects, I think compared to 2020 overall, I think the quality of the list is lower. Not by much, but enough for me to be like really noticing the difference between this year and the year prior to this one, 2020. The main reason I think, while the really good projects were original, fun to listen to, all diverse, there was a lot of projects this year that even from groups that I liked last year, like CIX for example, is an example of this, or Astro, that I enjoyed some of their earlier projects, is that while they weren't bad, they didn't stood out at all in my opinion. And I think these are the 20 best projects until this point. Red Velvet is not going to be on this list. The recent CIX album is not going to be on this list. The recent Grey album I listened to only once, and if you don't see certain projects, there's a chance that I didn't like them enough, 2, they probably didn't make the list, 3, I didn't listen to them, or 4, I don't like them, so understand that these are the albums that I listen to the most, that I go back to the most, and that I think are in general the best projects of the year. So let's not even waste too much time on this, honestly, and I'm gonna go pretty fast from the number 20 to number 10. Just give a couple of words for every project. For number 20, we have Big Naughty with Bucket List. I was never a huge fan of Big Naughty, but this album actually made me a huge fan. I really like the diverse type of songs in here, and actually shows a lot of flexibility as an artist. Then we have Twice with Taste of Love, I think one of their better EPs of the last year and a half. Pentagon, Love or Take. I think Pentagon has been on a pretty good streak the last year and a half. In my opinion, after the controversy, I think, which isn't really a controversy, which is Dawn leaving the group, I think they're back being not only a successful group, but also a group that can make very good music. Then you have Jeon Soyeon, obviously from G-Idol, with Windy. I was quite surprised by this EP. I thought I was not gonna like it. In fact, I really, really do. And it shows how Soyeon, when she's in her comfort zone and she's actually trying, she can be very good. Number 16, BIBI, Life's a B. She's an artist that I think is very talented, and I think she's gonna improve. While I don't think this project is necessarily perfect, even though it's short, I think it shows a lot of her strengths and what she can possibly be in a year or 2 from now. 15, TXT, The Chaos chapter, Freeze. I think TXT, again, like I say, Mr. Consistency, one of the most consistent groups in K-pop. They always release good music, no matter what. So definitely go check it out. 14, Sunmi, 1 out of 6. Pretty good short EP to the point. 13, 17, Your Love. 12, Heize, Appen. And 11, Chung with Querencia. When I listened to this album by Chung originally, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but the more I listened to it, the more it grew on me, actually, and I reevaluated it a lot. It's actually a great album, and it's an album I think is actually quite fun to listen to, and it's not boring even though it's pretty long. I think it's like 15-16 tracks. It never gets boring, which is pretty impressive. But now we get into the top 10, the juicy shit, and we get number 10, Punch with Full Bloom. This is a pretty good project. I think it's almost flawless, honestly, and Punch is an artist that I've always enjoyed, and I'm surprised she's not as more popular right now, considering how big K-pop is. But she's an artist that was never, for one reason or another, able to break through with more Western fans. I don't know why. Number 9, Kang with Yellow. Kang keeps his streak of great music, post 101, and this EP shows exactly what he can do and why he is, and he, until right now, I think with Ah Sung-won, the most talented members coming out of that show. Number 8, Shinee, Don't Call Me. Not a great project by legendary group Shinee. They've dropped 2 projects this year, Don't Call Me and Atlantis. and I prefer Don't Call Me over Atlantis. Atlantis is not bad, but it's definitely the project that I went back to the least compared to Don't Call Me, which is a project that I actually quite like. Number 7, and now we're getting to the really interesting stuff to me, Baekhyun with Bambi, the EP. Again, I'm being really surprised how good Baekhyun has been as a solo artist. You know, whoever he's working with as a producer and whatever, they have a good synergy, and I think they're bringing the best out of each other. And I'm really like to see how Baekhyun is really evolving into a great solo artist, in my opinion, so great soloist. Number 6, BAMBAM, Ribbon, another guy that I didn't think he was gonna be a great soloist, and I have to eat my words because this album is really good. While again, there's still things that can be polished, and I think that he can still do better in the future. I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of the production, the quality of his vocals, the lyrics, and the cohesiveness of the project. I think they were all things that really stand out for me on this album. And now we're getting into the top 5. OneWE with Planet 9, Alter Ego. Now that takes the 5th spot on this list. And OneWE is a group that's been out since 2015, and I've been listening to Kpop since 2013. But I've never heard of this group until this year. For one reason or another, they went under my radar. I never heard of their music. But this time, I have to say, I was quite surprised. You know, a lot of the rock tracks are incredible. The vocals are good. The album is just beautiful from a melodic standpoint. It just works perfectly. You know, and this is not even what I would consider an objectively, like, oh my god, incredibly sonic or anything. No, it's just an album that I do love listening to and just makes me feel good when I listen to it, which is the same for every album in here. But this is the album that I can't really rationalize maybe being number 5. If I had to rationalize it, maybe it would be number 10, but I just like it more than everything else. I just listen to more than everything else, so it's gonna take the number 5 spot. And then we have number 4 with 2PM Must. I've always respected 2PM. I liked some of their stuff, but I was never a huge fan because when I got into K-pop, 2PM started getting pretty much into the military, and they were somewhat active in shows and whatnot, but for one reason or another, like 2PM was a group that I never really cared too much about. And this group, again, I was a fan before, but now I'm a real fan that actually will wait for their next future stuff, because this album is very, very good, and incredibly well produced. It's just great to listen to this project, you know, different type of vibes, different type of ideas in terms of how they want to make their songs, different type of songs, different styles, and the way they're able to all mesh them together shows why they're one of the most successful groups. And again, seeing veteran groups that have been on for so long still being supported by the K-pop community worldwide at this point, I think it's been pretty cool to see. And I think it's also important for the culture that 2PM is back and actually working and actively and being active in the music industry, way more than, you know, than them just being in the military or just doing other stuff and not being active in music. So I think that's been great for all of us, you know. And it's just one of the best albums of the year in my opinion. And I think that anybody should listen to this, especially if you've never heard of 2PM. I think this album will turn you into a fan. 3, NCT Dream, Hello Future. Now, if there's a team, I would say from this top 20 overall, that this is the year where I've been, again, proven wrong by a lot of artists. And NCT Dream, I've always considered to be, I think, by far the weakest unit of NCT. And not because they're not talented, because all these other guys work in other units, but it's because it always felt the music was the least interesting ones, you know. And we're talking specifically from the start of NCT and the start of their existence, you know, NCT U, NCT 127. To me, these always were not only the best, but also the most original, the most, you know, fresh and diverse type of music, you know. NCT Dream just did classic NCT, you know, a high school type of boy crush of music, right? Which is cool, but I never even thought it was even that good at the time. But NCT Dream, since they changed their style, right? Originally, the concept of NCT was supposed to be a very Japanese-like concept with generations, with the idea of graduations and everything. They obviously scratched that idea because NCT is just too big. I don't think you will be able to do it as much now. But seeing them the way they evolved to this point, where I really enjoy their music, the production is incredible. The ideas, the choruses, the way you hear the music, the way they approach a song, it's just, again, so much an SM album, right? And I think it really fits more with the SM culture rather than everything else they've done before, which was just average products in my opinion, at best sometimes even not good. But in this case, it's again the SM culture, interesting, thought-provoking original music, very experimental, I think even for the average fan, but they're not scared of doing that. And I've always respected about SM, and I respect this about NCT Dream. Hello Future has some of the best songs of the year, some of the best singles of the year, and again, I reevaluated an entire unit. And if you didn't like NCT Dream, I would be surprised if you don't like them after this album, honestly. Number 2, AKMU with Next Episode. Now, AKMU has always been great, in my opinion, since 2015. When I think 2015, 2014 is when they debuted, but they've always been great. You know, and one thing about AKMU is you can clearly see their evolution as a duo. You know, from the start when they were young till now as adults who live actively in society. You know, Chanyok, I think, is the older brother, is now 30. You know, I think he's 30, right? Or almost 30. You know, and the sister, I was forgetting her name. Soyeon, I think it's her name. Actually, I don't remember what's her name, but I think it's Soyeon. Soyeon is also getting a little bit older, so you can see that in their lyrics. They're more mature. Because even the album they dropped last year, while I thought it was good, it was definitely more rushed. You could feel that the productions were not really interesting, and the album was more of a classic Korean ballad project. But this one, production-wise, stylistically, the features are all really good. The concept, the lyrics, the imagery that they're creating is all amazing. And AKMU keeps proving year after year that they were the most talented duo in music, I think, in the world. But in Korea, I think they're definitely one of the better artists. Not one of the, one of the best artists in Korea. And constantly bringing something different. And even if it's not the most original thing ever, like one of the tracks really on this album really reminds you of a Michael Jackson track, it's still done in a way that is very tasteful. It's done as an homage, and it doesn't just feel like they're ripping something just so they can make some numbers. And you gotta respect that, in my opinion. And I think the number one undisputed K-pop project of 2021 till now, which is August 26th, I'm recording this at 3 a.m. It's Yukika timeabout. So unironically, the best project comes from a Japanese artist, which is Yukika. Now, timeabout is a project that, you know, I knew about Yukika in the past. She dropped a song, and I thought the song was really good. But, you know, she debuted in Korea quite older. You know, she was already in her mid to late 20s. And to see this evolution where she brings a lot of the elements of J-pop, of city pop from the 80s, you know, mixing with more classic Korean K-pop like sounds from like the early 2010s. Her vocals are really good. I think the melodies, the lyrics, it's very catchy. The choruses are great. And atmospherically, like they really hit that. I think they really hit well the atmosphere aspect of this project, right? Which is, you know, it gives you that vibe of the nightlife in the big city, you know, very melancholic, sometimes sad, but at the same time happy. There's always a brighter side to it, you know. So songs like Plastic Love are a huge inspiration to the sound and to the feel of this project, for example. And this goes for a lot of, you know, J-pop actually of that era is used as an idea from this project. I think it's done tastefully. It's done, in my opinion, as by far the best project of the year, in my opinion, with the 5 that I mentioned in the top 5. And I think that Yukika, to me, deserves more love. She deserves to be way more successful than she is. But I understand, you know, she's not your typical idol. She's not super young, you know, she's not Korean. And while people might think that doesn't matter, I think that these things will always matter when we talk about K-pop, whether it's in Korea as a country or whether it's in the West. Because again, there's this idea that if you're a K-pop idol, for the most part, you're gonna be Korean, or at least you're gonna be related to a majority Korean group. It's just the sad reality to it. So I think for artists that started coming from the outside that are not idols, it's very hard to really break through and become successful. But again, this doesn't take away anything from anybody else. Obviously, it's her experience, and I hope she still obviously can be a huge artist. I've left projects that I thought they were good. That I just listened recently. Like again, Red Velvet didn't make the list. Actually, even though I'm not a fan of Day 6 at all, I've always been a guy who didn't like their music. I have to say their latest project they dropped, I think a week ago, was really good. Maybe it's gonna make the list at the end of the year. Hopefully the second part of the year is better. I feel like maybe we're gonna get a big band, maybe we're gonna get a full BTS project. Maybe we're gonna get something else from a rookie group, or maybe something from a GG member, maybe something from A-Pink. I hope B2B is another group that is allegedly gonna have a comeback, right? So there is a lot of things to wait for, I think, in the second part of the year. Stray Kids, obviously. I don't know if they already dropped the album, but they will in a very short amount of time. So there is the things to wait for. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your favorite K-pop projects of the year? If you have a top 10, top 5, top 20, let me know in the comment section. And if you like the video, comment, subscribe, leave a like, share, and see you next time.